Every single morning, you have two choices. You can wake up and be the same person you were yesterday, or you can wake up and reinvent yourself. And here's the truth. Change doesn't happen in a year. It doesn't happen in a month. It happens in moments. The moment you decide you're done settling, the moment you choose growth over comfort, and the moment you make today the day you stop just surviving and start living with absolute, unstoppable certainty. Let me tell you something most people completely overlook. Your life is a reflection of the state you live in every single day. And yet, most people roll out of bed and let the world decide how they're going to feel. They pick up their phone, they check the news, they scroll through social media, and instantly they're reacting. They're letting external forces hijack their emotions before they've even had a chance to take a breath. And then they wonder why they feel overwhelmed, anxious, and behind all day long. If you want to change your life, you've got to flip that script. You have to own your state before the world owns it for you. Because if you don't set the tone for your day will set it for you, and it usually won't be in your favor. Your state is the foundation of everything. Your energy, your focus, your emotions, your decisions. Every conversation you have, every choice you make, every action you take comes through the filter of your current state. If you're in a peak state, even big challenges feel manageable. You're resourceful, creative, driven. But if you're in a lousy state, even small problems feel like mountains. You get stuck, you hesitate, you spiral. The difference between those two outcomes isn't the events, it's the state you choose to show up in. Notice that I said, choose. Because here's the truth. Your state isn't something you wait to happen to you. It's something you create. You have that power every single morning. But like any muscle, it only works if you train it. You can't just hope to wake up in a good mood. You have to condition yourself for it, just like an athlete conditions their body. And the good news, it doesn't take hours. It can take as little as a few minutes if you're intentional. The moment you wake up, your mind is at its most impressionable. Your subconscious is wide open, ready to absorb whatever you feed it. This is when you either program yourself for power or for problems. If you start your day with gratitude, with movement, with focus, you're priming your nervous system to be unstoppable. But if you start your day with chaos, emails, stress, negativity, you're training yourself to react instead of create. That's why the first moments of your day are sacred. Protect them like your life depends on it. Because in a very real way, it does. I've worked with people who thought their life was falling apart, and when we drilled down into it, we found they were living in a disempowered state almost all the time. And it wasn't because life was objectively harder for them. It was because they had developed the habit of letting the world dictate their emotions. The transformation came when they realized they could interrupt that pattern, that they could change their physiology, their focus, and their language in an instant. And when they started doing that daily, everything shifted. Their relationships, their business, their health, their sense of fulfillment. If you want to own your state, start with your body. Your body is the fastest lever you have to shift your emotions. You can't sit slouched, breathe shallow, stare at the ground, and expect to feel powerful. Stand up, move, breathe deeply, put energy into your body. Even something as simple as a short burst of exercise, jumping in place, or deep rhythmic breathing can radically change how you feel. Motion creates emotion. Remember that. Then direct your focus. What you focus on, you feel. If you focus on what's missing, you'll feel scarcity. If you focus on what's wrong, you'll feel stressed. But if you focus on what you're grateful for, what's possible, and what you can do right now to make progress, you'll feel empowered. Your mind is like a spotlight. Aim it intentionally. And finally, watch your language. The words you use with yourself and others. Language shapes meaning, and meaning shapes emotion. There's a huge difference between saying, I'm exhausted, versus I'm recharging, or I'm overwhelmed, versus I'm figuring this out. One disempowers you, the other fuels you. Change your words and you'll notice your state starts shifting immediately. This is why I tell people, don't just hope for a better day. Create one. Start every morning by putting yourself into a peak state, and you'll find that life starts responding to you differently. Opportunities seem to appear. People react to you with more positivity. Your problems feel smaller because you're bigger than them. This isn't luck, and it's not magic. It's you taking control of the only thing you've ever truly had control over, your state. Because when you own your state, you own your life. We all live inside a story. Whether you realize it or not, there's a constant narrative running in the background of your mind. It's the way you explain your past, define your present, and predict your future. That story shapes every choice you make, every risk you take, and every opportunity you see or don't see. And here's the kicker. Most people are telling themselves a story that's way too small for the life they're capable of living. They're running on outdated scripts written years ago, maybe even decades ago, often without even questioning if those scripts are true. Think about it. How many times have you caught yourself saying, "That's just the way I am," or "That always happens to me," or "I'm not that type of person"? Those aren't facts. Those are stories. And stories are powerful because they become self-fulfilling. If you keep telling yourself you're bad at relationships, you'll find a way to sabotage them. If you believe you're not a leader, you won't step into situations that require leadership. If you've convinced yourself that success is for other people, you'll never even go after the opportunities that could change your life. The story you accept becomes the reality you live. The problem is, most of these stories aren't even ours. They're hand-me-downs from parents, teachers, friends, society. Maybe someone told you when you were young that you weren't smart enough, and you carried that with you. Maybe you had a failure once, and instead of seeing it as feedback, you made it part of your identity. Over time, these stories calcify until they feel like truth. But they're not truth, they're choices. And you can make a new choice right now. Here's the truth: most people don't hear your story is not fixed. It's flexible. It's alive. It can evolve in a moment if you decide to change the meaning you attach to your experiences. The same event can make one person bitter and another person unstoppable. The difference is the story they tell themselves about what happened. One says, "That broke me." The other says, "That built me." Same event, completely different destiny. I've worked with people who had been through hell, abuse, bankruptcy, betrayal, and yet they radiate joy and power because they reframed their story. They stopped seeing themselves as victims of their past and started seeing themselves as the authors of their future. They took the pain, the struggle, the mistakes, and made them fuel instead of chains. They traded "life happened to me" for "life happened for me." And that shift changes everything. If you want to change your story, start by catching the old one in action. Pay attention to the language you use when you describe yourself, your life, your possibilities. Every time you say, "I can't," "I'm not," or "That's just how it is," stop yourself and ask, "Says who?" Challenge it. Where did that belief come from? Is it even true now, or is it just something you've repeated so many times it feels true? Then write a new story. I mean, literally write it down. Who are you at your best? What's the identity you want to live into? Speak about yourself as if you are already that person, because the mind responds to certainty. If you keep repeating, "I am strong," "I am resourceful," "I am the kind of person who figures things out," your brain will look for ways to make that true. Just like your old story held you back, your new story will start pulling you forward. And yes, it will feel uncomfortable at first. Your old identity will try to fight for survival. It will try to pull you back into the familiar, even if the familiar is miserable. But that's just proof that you're breaking free. Keep going. Condition your new story every day. Say it out loud. Visualize it. Live in it until it becomes your default. Because here's the reality. The quality of your life will never exceed the quality of the story you believe about yourself. And when you choose to tell a story that empowers you instead of limits you, your life begins to match it. You can't always control what happens to you, but you can always control the story you tell about it. And when you master that, you'll find you're no longer just living your life. You're creating it. Your mind is your most powerful asset, but like any high-performance machine, it only runs at its best when you fuel it with the right things. The problem is, most people treat their mind like a junkyard instead of a precision instrument. They let anything and everything pour in. Negativity from the news, drama from social media, gossip from people around them. And then they wonder why they feel drained, uninspired, and stuck. You can't expect to live an extraordinary life if you're feeding your mind ordinary or destructive input every day. Think about your body for a second. If you ate greasy, processed junk food every single day, what would happen? Your energy would tank, your health would suffer, and eventually you'd break down. Well, your mind works the exact same way. Every piece of information you consume is either strengthening you or weakening you. It's either helping you build clarity, confidence, and vision, or it's creating doubt, fear, and confusion. The quality of your thoughts comes directly from the quality of what you put in. The most successful, fulfilled people are deliberate about what they feed their mind. They don't just hope to think positively. They flood their mind with ideas, perspectives, and strategies that keep them growing. They read books that challenge them. They listen to mentors who expand their vision. They put themselves in rooms where people are talking about possibilities, not problems. They're intentional about surrounding themselves with voices that lift them higher. If you want to change your life, you have to become a guardian of your mental environment. That means auditing what you're consuming on a daily basis. How much of what you read, watch, and listen to is moving you toward the life you want? How much of it is just noise that's distracting you or reinforcing your limitations? You've got to be ruthless about cutting out mental junk food and replacing it with what truly nourishes your mind. And it's not just about information. It's about repetition. One empowering book isn't enough if the rest of your week is filled with negativity. One inspiring podcast won't do much if you spend the next 6 hours scrolling through things that make you compare yourself or feel less than. Just like your body, your mind needs a consistent diet of high-quality fuel. You have to immerse yourself in the thoughts, beliefs, and strategies that align with the life you're building, not just once in a while, but every single day. Here's the thing, your brain is like fertile soil. Whatever seeds you plant will grow. If you're planting seeds of possibility, growth, and resilience, you're going to see that reflected in your actions and your results. But if you're planting seeds of fear, doubt, and negativity, even passively by letting that kind of content in, those will take root just as quickly. The difference is, one set of seeds creates the life you want, and the other creates the life you dread. I've seen people turn their lives around simply by changing their mental diet. They stopped starting their mornings with news alerts and started with gratitude journals and success principles. They swapped hours of mindless scrolling for 30 minutes of reading biographies of people who achieved great things. They began listening to audio programs on personal growth while commuting instead of letting traffic stress them out. Within weeks, their energy shifted. Within months, their opportunities expanded. And within a year, their lives looked completely different. All because they were finally feeding their mind the way champions do. And make no mistake, there's always going to be junk out there. There will always be voices trying to pull you into fear, outrage, or mediocrity. But you get to choose what gets through the gate. You are the gatekeeper of your mind. And every time you let something in, you're making an investment in the kind of life you'll experience. Invest wisely, because when you consistently feed your mind with the right fuel, you won't just think differently. You'll start to act differently, speak differently, and live differently. And that's when your life begins to change from the inside out. One of the biggest lies people tell themselves is that they're waiting for the right time. They've got the dream, they've got the vision, but they keep putting it off. They convince themselves they need more money, more knowledge, more connections, more confidence before they start. But the truth is, that's just fear wearing the mask of logic. If you wait for perfect conditions, you'll wait your entire life because perfect doesn't exist. There will always be something that's not quite lined up. And if you make action dependent on perfection, you've already lost. Momentum doesn't come from thinking about it. It doesn't come from planning it to death. It comes from movement, from doing anything that pushes you forward. You don't need to see the entire staircase to take the first step. You just need to put one foot on the next step in front of you. The people who create extraordinary results aren't necessarily the smartest or the most talented. They're the ones who act before they feel ready, and they keep acting until they get where they want to go. You have to understand, imperfect action beats perfect inaction every single time. That messy first draft of a book is infinitely more valuable than the perfect one that only exists in your head. That awkward first sales call will teach you more than 100 hours of studying scripts. That shaky first workout still moves you closer to your fitness goals than waiting for right program ever will. The magic isn't in knowing every detail. It's in building momentum. And once momentum starts working for you, it's a force that can carry you further than you ever imagined. Here's what happens when you take action. You get feedback. You see what works and what doesn't. You make adjustments. You grow. Every action is like a test run that gives you data you can't get by sitting still. And here's the thing, you can't steer a parked car. You have to get moving before you can course correct. People think failure is the opposite of success, but failure is actually a stepping stone to it. The only true opposite of success is not starting at all. Sometimes people tell me, I don't want to make a mistake. And I tell them, you will. Many of them. And that's the point. Mistakes aren't proof that you're not capable. They're proof that you're in the game. Every mistake carries a lesson, and the faster you make them, the faster you learn. You can't shortcut experience. You can't think your way into mastery. You have to act your way into it. And yes, action requires courage. But courage isn't the absence of fear. It's moving forward despite it. Every time you act in the face of uncertainty, you're teaching your nervous system that you're bigger than your fears. And each time you do that, your confidence grows, not because you suddenly have all the answers, but because you've proven to yourself that you can figure things out along the way. If you want to live a life you're proud of, you have to become addicted to progress. You have to train yourself to value forward motion over flawless execution. When you act, you set things in motion that you can't even see yet. You bump into opportunities you never could have planned for. You meet people who open doors you didn't know existed. You discover strengths you didn't know you had. But none of that happens if you stay still, analyzing, doubting, and waiting for some imaginary perfect moment. Start where you are. Use what you have. Do what you can today, not tomorrow. That phone call you've been avoiding, make it. That project you've been thinking about, start it. That risk you've been debating, take it. You might stumble, you might fall, but you'll also learn, grow, and rise. And over time, you'll look back and realize it was never about waiting for the right time. It was about making the time you had right. Because the fastest way to change your life is to stop waiting and start moving. There's a balance in life that most people never find, and it's the balance between gratitude and hunger. Some people live in constant hunger, always chasing the next goal, the next achievement, the next "I'll be happy when" moment. They achieve, but they're never fulfilled because nothing is ever enough. Others live in gratitude, but without hunger. They're content, comfortable, maybe even joyful. But they stop pushing, they stop growing, and over time they start to feel stagnant. The real magic happens when you live in both states at the same time. Gratitude is what grounds you. It's the ability to stop, look at your life, and feel an overwhelming sense of appreciation for what you already have, no matter where you are in your journey. Gratitude shifts your focus from what's missing to what's present, and that shift changes your emotional state instantly. When you're truly grateful, fear starts to fade, comparison disappears, and you stop measuring your worth against someone else's highlight reel. You realize that in this moment, you already have blessings that once existed only in your imagination. But here's where most people get it wrong. They think gratitude means settling. They think, if I'm grateful for what I have, doesn't that mean I should stop wanting more? Absolutely not. Gratitude is not the enemy of ambition, it's the fuel for it. When you're grateful, you're not chasing goals from a place of lack, desperation, or insecurity. You're chasing them from a place of abundance, from a place of joy. And when you do that, the journey becomes just as fulfilling as the destination. Now, hunger is what keeps you growing. It's that fire inside that says, I can be more, do more, give more. Hunger pushes you to take the risks, to step into discomfort, to pursue the next level of who you can be. Without hunger, life starts to shrink. You stop challenging yourself, and when you stop challenging yourself, your world becomes smaller and smaller until you're just coasting through your days. Hunger keeps you alive inside because it's the part of you that refuses to settle for a life that's merely fine. When you're capable of extraordinary, the key is to combine the two. Imagine waking up every day deeply grateful for everything you have. Your health, your relationships, your opportunities, while still being hungry to create, contribute, and expand. You're not working toward a goal because you feel incomplete. You're working toward it because you're excited about what's possible. You're not grinding out of fear of losing. You're building out of love for what's next. That combination makes you unstoppable because you're no longer driven by scarcity or held back by complacency. I've seen people who were all hunger and no gratitude burn themselves out. They achieved incredible things, but they were never satisfied. Every victory felt hollow, and they couldn't figure out why. And I've seen people who had all gratitude, but no hunger slowly drift into a life where nothing challenged them, nothing excited them, and eventually they wondered where their spark went. The people who thrive, truly thrive, are the ones who master both. So how do you live in that space? Start your day in gratitude. Before you even touch your phone, think of 3 things you're genuinely thankful for, and don't just list them, feel them. Let that appreciation flood your system. Then, once you've connected to gratitude, ask yourself, what's the next level for me? Where do I want to grow today? That's your hunger speaking. Now you're moving into action, not because you have to prove yourself, but because you want to express yourself at the highest level possible. And here's the beautiful thing. When you live with gratitude and hunger together, you naturally give more to others. You're grateful for the people around you, so you treat them with more kindness. You're hungry to contribute, so you show up with more energy, more solutions, more passion. You become a force that not only changes your own life, but impacts everyone you touch. Because at the end of the day, the goal isn't to just be grateful or just be hungry. It's to be grateful for how far you've come while staying hungry for how far you can still go. So here's the truth. Nothing in your life changes until you decide to change it. You can keep waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect plan, or the perfect conditions, but deep down you know that's just fear trying to keep you safe. The moment you choose to own your state, rewrite your story, feed your mind with power, take relentless imperfect action, and live with gratitude and hunger at the same time, that's the moment life starts to shift. Not next month, not next year. Now. Every day you wake up is a new chance to step into the person you were meant to be. And when you commit fully, when you stop holding back, when you decide that your future will not be a repeat of your past, that's when you stop just existing and start truly living. So don't wait. Start today. Start now. Because your best life is already waiting for you to show up for it.